Hi everybody, it's the Soap Man and it's time to make some soap. So today I'm going to be doing something just a little bit different. I'm going to be using an old fragrance that I've used many times and a color plan that I've done before. So let's do that real quick. I'm going to use Crafter's Choice Champagne, which I have used. It smells really nice, holds its scent, behaves beautifully. It'll be in a white base, titanium dioxide. I'm going to swirl in Sahara Gold and sea green, both of these from Nurture Soap, and it's going to have a pink top on it, frosted top using tickled pink, tickled pink, and that'll be lightened with titanium dioxide. Then I'm going to do a second soap in this video, so you'll get two soaps in this video. I'm going to fragrance that one with an old favorite from Brambleberry, Apple Sage, and I'm not sure what the color scheme is going to be, so in a couple of days when I get to that soap making, I'll show you then. The reason I'm using my hot process recipe is because my mother-in-law rendered some lard for me. In my hot process recipe, I do use lard because it makes it more malleable and keeps it softer longer. Folks, I realize not everybody uses animal fat in their soap. Not everybody uses palm oil in their soap. And hey, that's all well and good. I respect you for that. But I do use lard in my hot process soap. And this was from a hog that was purchased for food. And my mother-in-law knew the people who did it, and there was a lot of excess fat. And she said, my son-in-law makes soap and could probably use that in his soap. And she asked me, and I said, absolutely. So she took the fat from the animal and took it home and actually rendered it down into lard. I have several quarts of it. So I will be using home rendered lard, and that's just another way that just keeps that part of the animal that would have just gone into the landfill, that keeps it from going to waste. So she and her friends had requested a few bars, and I said I would be delighted. But that's the big difference, is I am using home rendered lard in this today, no palm oil. So give me a minute to get everything set up and do the heat transfer method, and I'll be back and we'll get started. Alright, I am back, so it's time to get our soap colored, scented, and poured. So I'm going to go ahead and put the mica in first, because I can just easily hand stir that in. And then I'll get the titanium dioxide in last. I have just a little bit more of the white, just because I think that just helps set the other colors off. They just stand out a little more if there's a little extra white. That should be enough for these two, but let's stir it and see just to be sure. And yeah, it looks good. And that looks good. In here, and as always with the heat transfer, these have only been hand stirred. This has not been stick blended at all. And I know the fragrance behaves well, so this can take a pretty good wallop with the stick blender. So I'll start with it and get the fragrance in it. And I only have enough of this left to do the base soap, which means the frosting is going to be unscented, which probably means I'm going to kill till midnight waiting for it to set up. That's really one of the main reasons I scent the frosting, is it just helps it set up faster. But that's all right. And even heavily stick blended with the fragrance, this is just thin as water because that fragrance behaves so well. But the white has a lot of TD, and I'm afraid if I wait too long, it'll start to set up on me. So I'm going to pour most of it in. And then just slowly drop these in. And that's full, so this little bit of excess will just go into a spillover mold. I'll just do that off camera. That is thin as water. That's got to sit for a long time. I'm just going to even leave the top. I'm not even going to try to do anything with it because it's nice and flat and smooth. So that's going to sit for quite a while, but I will be back with the frosting. Okay, I'm back and it's time to cut our soap. So the pour went beautifully, but that's because of a slow moving fragrance, but I also think it had something to do with the lard. I did not put any fragrance in the frosting. It took 45 minutes to set up. That's the reason I use lard in my hot process, because when I'm waiting for it to cool down with fragrance and get it in the mold, it keeps it like in that gelatinous stage a whole lot longer, because lard is a very slow to trace fat. So it's still really soft. I had a little bit of damage getting it out of the mold, but it's minimal and it won't really show. But it was so thin, I'm hoping that I didn't just get a bunch of muddling together. Let's take a look. Yeah. No, I didn't. I just can't believe how soft it is. No, that's pretty much how I wanted it to go. Okay, I'm back and it's time for our second soap. So I changed my mind. In the intro, I said I was going to do the second one using Brambleberry's Apple Sage. I changed my mind. I'm going to use Lemon Verbena Yankee Candle type. And the reason, for years I have used this mixed 50-50 with Brambleberry's Electric Lemonade Cocktail because I like the combination, the scent of the combination. And this one accelerates. But the Electric Lemonade Cocktail really slows things down, and that one actually slowed down the acceleration in this one. Well, Brambleberry no longer sells Electric Lemonade Cocktail, so I'll be using this one only, and I know it accelerates, and I've never used it by itself. Well, I got to thinking, with the last batch that I made that used the lard instead of tallow, it slowed things down so much, it took forever for my frosting to set up. I'm wondering if that recipe will slow this fragrance down. So I'm going to give it a shot. So I'm going to be doing 2 layers of In the Pot Swirl. The bottom's going to be green using Nurture Soap's Green Vibrance and Nurture Soap's Emerald Green, and then a white swirl. And the top will be yellow using Nurture Soap's Yellow Vibrance and Mad Micah's Tennis Ball Breaker, the 2 together. And then an In the Pot Swirl. Those will be our 2 layers, and our frosting will be just pure white. Depending on how the fragrance behaves in this soap will determine whether or not I put it in the frosting or if I'm going to wait 45 minutes for it to set up unscented. We'll see. So anyway, that's enough talk. Give me a minute to get my heat transfer ready and we'll get started building this soap. Okay, let's get started. So we're going to do our green layer on the bottom. So we'll start with that one, obviously. And this is going to be the mixture of emerald green, as well as Green Vibrance. keeping in mind green vibrance is a morphing mica. It goes sort of an olive green, but it never ever stays. It always comes back to where it's supposed to. And that looks pretty nice and strong the way I was hoping. Let's get our titanium dioxide accent into this container. And now the moment of truth. How does this fragrance behave? I am a little nervous, I have to admit. Not even going to think about stick blending it. At first, it initially breaks it up. But I do know when I've used it mixed with a really well slow-moving fragrance, I had some acceleration, although it was workable. It looks like I'm going to this time. It's going to be very workable. Maybe I should have hit it real quick with the stick blender, but we'll see how long this takes to set up. Nope, it's doing great. I may stick blend the lemon on top, the yellow on top, and see what it does, and then determine whether or not I'm going to put it in the frosting. This is going to depend on how the bottom soap behaves. So far, that was no problem at all. And I think I'm going to just leave it flat. I don't think I'm going to texture this. So anyway, there's our green. That's going to have to sit a while, it looks like. So I will be back when the yellow's ready. Okay, it's time for the yellow. That did set up pretty quickly, so the acceleration is about the same as when I use it as a mixture, but I definitely am not going to use it in the frosting, so I will just wait 45 minutes. But that's okay because it's Saturday afternoon, so I got plenty of time to kill. So there's the yellow vibrance. And I'm going to put a little bit of tennis ball breaker into it because that really strengthens up this and makes it more stable and a little more vibrant. Because it looks nice and bright now, but it doesn't always stay that way after saponification. And just a little bit of the neon helps that. It doesn't take much. And I know that is well set up. There's no need to try and break the fall. So here goes our yellow. Yeah, it's setting up on me. I gotta move kind of fast on this one. Not gonna be a slow pour like the first one. Alright, I know that's going to set up pretty fast, so I'm going to go ahead and get my frosting mixed up. I'll be back when I'm ready for the frosting. Alright, 16 hours later, I'm back and it's time to cut our soap. And everything went pretty well. It did thicken up on me like I thought it may. But I love this green color. That's the mixture of the green vibrance and emerald green. The yellow is nice and vibrant like I was hoping. I love the color palette so far. So let's cut into it and see what we look like inside. Actually, I'll start on this end because the frosting's better on this end. Oh yeah, very nice. Didn't swirl quite as much on the yellow because it was thicker. Okay, I know this is a long video because I have 2 soaps in it and these are all going to look the same, so I'll cut these off camera and get a picture. But this is what I have for this week and I'm really happy with both of these. So, this is the champagne, the first one. And this is the lemon verbena, the second one. Really happy with both of these. And these are both made with home rendered lard from my mother-in-law. So thanks, Jean. Big shout out to Jean. And thank you all for watching. And I'll see you next time. Like always, stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and be blessed. Bye, everybody.